Megan Carter sat nervously in the waiting room of Dr. Ryan Foster's clinic, her hands clasped tightly together on her lap. The sterile smell of antiseptic filled the air, and the low hum of murmured conversations around her did little to calm her nerves. She had been putting off this appointment for months, dreading the thought of having to go through with a gynecological surgery. It wasn't just the procedure itself that made her anxious. It was everything about it. Hospitals, doctors, needles, they all terrified her. But most of all, she hated the idea of being vulnerable in front of strangers. Megan was not someone who enjoyed attention or felt comfortable opening up to people. In fact, she went out of her way to avoid situations where she might have to interact with others. At work, she kept mostly to herself, preferring the quiet solitude of her desk over lunch breaks spent chatting with coworkers. Social gatherings? Forget it. Even family dinners were a challenge because they required her to make small talk and pretend to be interested in things she didn't care about. But today, there was no avoiding it. Her doctor had insisted the surgery was necessary, and Megan knew deep down that delaying it any longer would only make things worse. So here she was, sitting in an uncomfortable plastic chair, trying to distract herself by flipping through the pages of an old magazine. The glossy photos of celebrities and ads for skincare products meant nothing to her. Her mind wandered instead, replaying worst-case scenarios in vivid detail. What if something went wrong during the surgery? What if the doctor judged her? What if she fainted right there in the waiting room? Her thoughts were interrupted when a nurse called her name. Megan Carter? The voice was kind but firm, pulling her back to reality. Megan stood up quickly, almost dropping the magazine as she scrambled to follow the nurse down a long corridor lined with posters about health awareness. Her heart raced as they entered a small examination room. The walls were painted a pale blue, presumably meant to soothe patients, but Megan found no comfort in them. The nurse handed her a thin gown and instructed her to change before leaving the room. Megan obeyed, feeling increasingly self-conscious, as she slipped out of her clothes and into the flimsy fabric. She perched awkwardly on the edge of the exam table, staring at the tiled floor while waiting for the doctor to arrive. Time seemed to stretch endlessly, each second amplifying her anxiety. Finally, the door opened and a man walked in. Megan looked up, expecting to see an older, stern-faced physician, the kind you'd imagine wearing thick glasses and carrying a clipboard. Instead, she was greeted by someone entirely unexpected. Dr. Ryan Foster appeared to be in his early 30s, tall and athletic, with neatly styled dark hair. His white coat hung perfectly over broad shoulders, and his warm smile instantly put her at ease. "Hi, Megan," he said, extending a hand. His voice was smooth and reassuring, like a favorite song playing softly in the background. "I'm Dr. Foster. How are you feeling today?" Megan hesitated, unsure how to respond. Normally, she would mumble something vague and hope the conversation ended quickly. But there was something about Ryan's demeanor that made her want to answer honestly. "Nervous," she admitted quietly, looking down at her lap. Ryan nodded sympathetically. "That's completely normal. A lot of my patients feel the same way before a procedure. Let's talk through what we're going to do today, okay? Knowledge helps take some of the fear away." He pulled up a stool and sat beside her, explaining the upcoming surgery in clear, simple terms. He used diagrams to illustrate how everything worked and answered every question Megan had, no matter how hesitant or trivial it seemed. Unlike other doctors she'd encountered, Ryan didn't rush her or act impatient. He listened carefully, nodding along as if her concerns were the most important thing in the world. By the time their discussion ended, Megan felt significantly more relaxed. Ryan's confidence and kindness had a calming effect, making her believe that maybe, just maybe, everything would turn out fine. Before leaving the room, he gave her one last encouraging smile. "You're in good hands, Megan. Trust me." As Megan changed back into her regular clothes, she couldn't help but think about how different this experience had been from what she'd anticipated. Sure, she was still nervous about the actual surgery, but meeting Ryan had shifted something inside her. For the first time in a long time, she felt seen not as a shy, awkward person hiding in the shadows, but as someone worthy of care and attention. On her drive home, Megan replayed their conversation in her mind, marveling at how effortlessly Ryan had put her at ease. There was something unusual about him, though she couldn't quite put her finger on it. Maybe it was the way he carried himself, with such poise and authority, or the genuine interest he showed in getting to know her. Whatever it was, Megan couldn't shake the feeling that Dr. Ryan Foster was unlike anyone she'd ever met before. The day of the surgery arrived, and Megan woke up feeling a mix of emotions. Her stomach was in knots, but strangely, she wasn't as terrified as she had been before meeting Dr. Ryan Foster. She kept replaying their conversation in her mind. The way he explained everything so clearly, the kindness in his voice, and how he seemed genuinely interested in making sure she felt comfortable. It gave her a small sense of reassurance, even though the thought of going under anesthesia still made her nervous. Megan dressed in loose, comfortable clothes and drove to the clinic, gripping the steering wheel tightly as she tried to calm her racing thoughts. When she arrived, the same nurse who had escorted her during her consultation greeted her with a warm smile. "Good morning, Megan. Dr. Foster is ready for you," she said cheerfully. Megan nodded, forcing a weak smile in return as she followed. The nurse back to the preparation area. Once again, Megan changed into the thin gown and sat on the exam table, staring at the ceiling while waiting for Ryan to arrive. This time, however, her anxiety wasn't as overwhelming. She reminded herself that Ryan had promised to take care of her, and somehow that promise carried weight. A few minutes later, the door opened and Ryan stepped inside. He looked just as composed and confident as he had during their first meeting, wearing his white coat and carrying a clipboard. "Morning, Megan," he said warmly. "How are you holding up?" "I'm okay," Megan replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "Still a little scared, but I trust you." Ryan smiled gently. "That means a lot to me. You're going to do great, and I'll be here every step of the way. Let's get started, shall we?" He went over the procedure one more time, speaking slowly and patiently, ensuring Megan understood what would happen. He answered her questions without hesitation, no matter how small or silly they might have seemed. By the time they moved to the operating room, Megan felt as prepared as she could be. In the operating room, Megan lay down on the table, her heart pounding as the medical team bustled around her. Ryan stayed by her side, offering words of encouragement. "You're doing fantastic, Megan. Just focus on my voice, okay? Everything will be fine." His calm tone helped steady her breathing as she closed her eyes, trying to relax. The next thing she knew, Megan was waking up in a recovery room. Her head felt foggy, and her body was groggy, but she recognized Ryan sitting beside her bed. He leaned forward slightly when he noticed her stirring. "Hey there," he said softly. "Welcome back. How are you feeling?" "Tired," Megan murmured, blinking slowly. "But okay, I think." "That's good to hear. The procedure went perfectly." "You did great," Ryan assured her. He handed her a cup of water and helped her take a sip. "Just rest for now. I'll check on you again later." For the rest of the day, Megan drifted in and out of sleep, vaguely aware of nurses coming and going. Each time she woke up, Ryan was nearby, either checking her vitals or simply sitting quietly in case she needed anything. His presence was comforting, like a safety net catching her whenever she felt unsure. When Megan finally returned home, she was exhausted, but relieved that the hardest part was over. Over the next few days, she focused on resting and following Ryan's post-operative instructions. To her surprise, Ryan sent her a text message the evening after her surgery. "Hope you're feeling better. Let me know if you need anything." Megan stared at the screen, unsure how to respond. Wasn't this kind of attention unusual for a doctor? Most physicians didn't bother contacting their patients outside of appointments, unless absolutely necessary. But then again, Ryan didn't seem like most doctors. After debating for a few minutes, she typed a short reply. "Thank you. I'm doing okay." To her amazement, Ryan responded almost immediately. "Glad to hear it. Take it easy and don't hesitate to reach out if something comes up." Their messages continued over the next several days. At first, they were strictly about Megan's recovery, how she was feeling, whether she was experiencing any discomfort, and reminders to take her medication. But gradually, their conversations became more personal. Ryan asked about her hobbies and interests, sharing bits of his own life in return. He told her about his love for hiking and photography, and how he often spent weekends exploring nature trails near the city. Megan found herself looking forward to these exchanges. For someone who usually avoided social interactions, talking to Ryan felt surprisingly natural. He never pressured her to share more than she was comfortable with, and his responses always came across as thoughtful and genuine. Slowly, Megan began opening up, telling him about her passion for reading and her dream of traveling someday. One afternoon, while lying on the couch with a book, Megan received another message from Ryan. "How's your recovery going? Still feeling okay?" She smiled faint high, realizing how much she appreciated his concern. "Yes, much better now," she replied. "Thanks for checking in." "You're welcome," Ryan wrote back. "By the way, I read an article today about introverts and how amazing they are at observing details others miss. Reminded me of you." Megan blinked in surprise. No one had ever described her shyness in such a positive light before. She hesitated for a moment before responding. "That's really nice of you to say. I've always thought being shy was a bad thing." "It's not," Ryan replied quickly. "Being reflective and thoughtful is a strength, not a weakness. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." His words lingered in Megan's mind long after their conversation ended. For the first time, she started to see her quiet nature not as a flaw, but as something unique about herself. And Ryan's consistent support played a big role in helping her shift that perspective. As the days turned into weeks, Megan's physical recovery progressed smoothly. She regained her energy and began resuming her daily routine, albeit at a slower pace. Throughout it all, Ryan remained a constant presence in her life, sending occasional texts to check in or share interesting articles he thought she'd enjoy. Their relationship had evolved into something Megan couldn't quite define. It wasn't purely professional, yet it wasn't entirely personal either. Whatever it was, it brought her a sense of comfort and connection she hadn't experienced in years. One evening, as Megan scrolled through her phone, she stumbled upon an article featuring Ryan. The headline read, "Young Millionaire Doctor Revolutionizes Healthcare Technology." Curious, she clicked on the link and began reading. What she discovered left her stunned. Ryan wasn't just a successful physician. He was also the founder of a groundbreaking tech startup called Innovatech. According to the article, he had developed cutting-edge software that improved patient care and streamlined hospital operations. Photos showed him attending prestigious conferences and shaking hands with influential figures in the medical field. Megan felt a pang of disbelief mixed with admiration. How had someone so accomplished managed to remain so humble and approachable? She couldn't help but feel intimidated by the realization that Ryan lived in a world far beyond her own. Yet, despite his success, he had taken the time to connect with her, a shy, ordinary woman who worked at a retail store and struggled to make ends meet. Her conflicting emotions grew stronger with each passing day. On one hand, she cherished a bond they had formed. Ryan had shown her kindness and understanding in ways no one else ever had. On the other hand, she worried that their differences might create an unbridgeable gap between them. Could someone like Ryan truly value a friendship or possibly something more with someone like her? Despite her doubts, Megan couldn't deny the growing warmth she felt whenever she thought about him. Whether it was his reassuring smile, his thoughtful texts, or the way he made her feel seen and heard, Ryan had become an important part of her life, and as much as she tried to resist it, she found herself hoping that their connection would continue to grow, no matter where it might lead. Megan couldn't stop thinking about the articles she had read about Ryan. It played on a loop in her mind, like a song she couldn't turn off. She kept picturing him at those fancy events, surrounded by powerful people, shaking hands and smiling confidently. It was hard to reconcile that image with the man who had sat beside her bed after surgery, patiently answering her questions and making sure she felt safe. How could someone so successful be so down to earth? The more she thought about it, the more confused she became. Ryan had treated her like an equal from the start, but now she couldn't help feeling like there was a huge gap between them. He lived in a world of million-dollar deals and cutting-edge technology, while she worked long hours at a retail store just to pay her rent. What did they really have in common? And why would someone like him care about someone like her? Still, Ryan didn't act any differently after Megan learned about his success. His texts remained as friendly and thoughtful as ever. One evening, he sent her a message asking how her day went. Megan hesitated before replying. She wanted to ask him about the article, but she didn't know how to bring it up without sounding awkward or intrusive. "Hey," she finally typed, "I saw something online about you today." "Oh?" Ryan replied almost instantly. "What? Did you see?" "It was an article about your company," Megan admitted. "About Innovatech. I didn't realize." "Well, I didn't know you were such a big deal." Ryan chuckled through his response. "Big deal? Hardly. I'm just someone who likes solving problems. The company is important to me, but it doesn't define who I am." Megan stared at the screen, unsure what to say next. She wanted to believe him, but part of her still felt out of place. "It's impressive," she wrote back. "You've done so much already. I can't imagine being that smart or ambitious." "That's where you're wrong," Ryan replied. "You don't give yourself enough credit. You're stronger than you think, Megan. Trust me." His words stayed with her long after their conversation ended. They made her feel good, but they also made her question herself. Was he just being nice? Or did he genuinely see something in her that she couldn't see in herself? A few days later, Ryan texted her again. This time, he invited her to dinner. "How about celebrating your recovery?" he suggested. "My treat. Just a casual meal, nothing fancy." Megan froze when she read the message. Dinner? With Ryan? The idea thrilled her and terrified her all at once. She had never been on anything resembling a date before, let alone with someone like him. What would they even talk about? What if she said something embarrassing or spilled food on herself? Her mind raced with worst-case scenarios. She debated for hours before finally responding. "Thank you for the invite, but I don't think it's a good idea," she typed carefully. "I appreciate everything you've done for me, but I wouldn't want to make things complicated." Ryan didn't reply right away, and Megan worried she might have offended him. When his response came, though, it was gentle and understanding. "No pressure, Megan. I completely respect your decision, but I hope you know my invitation comes from a sincere place. I enjoy talking to you and getting to know you better." His sincerity only made her feel worse. She hated turning him down, especially since he had gone out of his way to be kind to her. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling that accepting his offer would blur the lines between patient and doctor, or whatever their relationship was supposed to be. Over the next week, Megan tried to focus on other things. She cleaned her apartment, caught up on reading, and spent time with her best friend Lavra. But no matter how busy she kept herself, Ryan's invitation lingered in the back of her mind. Part of her wished she had said yes, while another part reminded her that she wasn't ready for something like this. Lavra noticed Megan's distraction during one of their coffee outings. "You've been zoning out a lot lately," she teased. "What's going on?" Megan hesitated, debating whether to share what was bothering her. Finally, she decided to confide in her friend. "It's Dr. Foster," she admitted. "He's been really nice to me, checking in, sending messages, stuff like that. And then he asked me to dinner, but I said no because, I don't know. It feels weird." Lavra raised an eyebrow. "Weird how?" "He's just different from me," Megan explained. "He's successful and smart and knows all these important people. I'm just me. I work at a store and spend most weekends alone. We don't belong in the same world." Lavra frowned. "That's ridiculous. Just because someone has money or status doesn't mean they're better than you. If he likes spending time with you, maybe you should give him a chance. But what if it's just pity?" Megan countered. "What if he feels sorry for me? Because I'm shy or awkward? Or what if he genuinely enjoys your company?" Lavra shot back. "You won't know unless you try. Stop overthinking it and take a risk for once." Megan didn't respond, but Laura's words stuck with her. That night, as she lay in bed scrolling through her phone, she found herself rereading Ryan's previous messages. There was no hint of pity in them, only warmth and encouragement. Maybe Lavra was right. Maybe she was letting her insecurities get in the way of something meaningful. The next morning, Megan woke up with a sense of determination. She picked up her phone and typed a message to Ryan. "Hi," she began nervously. "About dinner. I'd like to accept your invitation, if the offer is still open." Ryan's reply came within minutes. "Of course it's still open. I'm glad you changed your mind. How does tomorrow evening sound?" Megan's heart skipped a beat. "Tomorrow works," she replied. "Thank you." As soon as she hit send, a wave of panic washed over her. What had she just agreed to? She didn't have anything nice to wear, and she had no idea what to expect from the evening. But deep down, she knew she had made the right choice. For once, she wanted to step outside her comfort zone and see where this path might lead. Following evening, Megan stood in front of her closet, staring blankly at her limited wardrobe. She settled on a simple blue dress that Laura had convinced her to buy last year, pairing it with a light cardigan. After applying minimal makeup and brushing her hair until it shone, she glanced at herself in the mirror. She looked presentable, but she couldn't shake the feeling that she wasn't good enough. When Ryan arrived to pick her up, Megan's nerves spiked. She opened the door to find him standing there, dressed casually in jeans and a button-down shirt. He smiled warmly, holding out a small bouquet of flowers. "For you," he said softly. "You look beautiful." Megan blushed, taking the flowers and mumbling a thank you. As they drove to the restaurant, Ryan kept the conversation light, asking about her favorite books and movies. By the time they reached their destination, a cozy Italian bistro tucked away in a quiet neighborhood, Megan felt slightly more at ease. The dinner itself went better than she could have imagined. Ryan listened attentively as she talked about her childhood love of fairy tales and her dream of visiting Europe someday. In return, he shared stories about his early struggles building Innovatech and the mistakes he'd made along the way. His humility and humor put her at ease, and for the first time in years, Megan forgot to worry about saying the wrong thing. By the end of the evening, Megan realized something surprising. She hadn't felt out of place at all. Ryan had treated her with the same kindness and respect he always had, and their differences hadn't mattered. For the first time, She allowed herself to believe that maybe she deserved to be happy, and that maybe Ryan could be part of that. Happiness. As they drove back to her apartment, Megan glanced at him and smiled. "Thank you for tonight," she said softly. "I had a really good time." "So did I," Ryan replied, his voice warm. "Let's do it again sometime." Megan nodded, her heart swelling with hope. For the first time in her life, she felt like she was stepping into a brighter future one, where she didn't have to hide in the shadows anymore. After their dinner together, Megan and Ryan's relationship began to change. It wasn't a dramatic shift, more like small steps toward something deeper. They continued texting regularly, but now their conversations felt lighter, easier. Ryan would send funny memes or photos from his hikes, and Megan started sharing little moments from her own life, like pictures of books she was reading or sunsets she saw on her walks. Each message brought them closer, building a connection that neither of them had expected. One evening, Ryan texted Megan about a community event happening over the weekend. "It's a charity art show," he explained. "Local artists are selling their work to raise money for a children's hospital." "I thought it might be fun if you came along," Megan hesitated. She had never been to an art show before, let alone one filled with strangers. The idea of walking into a crowded room made her stomach churn. But then she remembered how kind Ryan had been during their dinner, how patient he was when she felt nervous. Maybe this could be another chance to push herself out of her comfort zone. "I'll think about it," she replied cautiously. Ryan didn't pressure her. Instead, he sent a follow-up message later that night. "No rush, Megan, just know I'd love having you there, but only if you feel ready." His thoughtfulness touched her. By the next morning, she had made up her mind. "Okay," she wrote back, "I'll go." The day of the event arrived, and Megan spent hours preparing. She chose a simple yet elegant outfit, a black blouse paired with jeans, and styled her hair in loose waves. As she stood in front of the mirror, she couldn't help but feel a flicker of excitement mixed with anxiety. What if she said something awkward? Or worse, what if she embarrassed Ryan? When Ryan picked her up, he greeted her with a warm smile. "You look amazing," he said sincerely. Megan blushed, mumbling a quiet thank you as they drove to the venue. The art show was held in a large gallery space, its walls covered with colorful paintings and photographs. Soft jazz music played in the background, and clusters of people mingled, sipping wine and admiring the artwork. Megan clung to Ryan's arm as they entered, feeling overwhelmed by the crowd. Sensing her unease, Ryan leaned down slightly. "We can take our time," he whispered. "There's no rush." They wandered through the exhibits slowly, stopping to admire pieces that caught their attention. Ryan pointed out a vibrant abstract painting, explaining how the artist used bold colors to convey emotion. Megan listened intently, nodding along, even though she didn't fully understand. When they reached a corner displaying delicate watercolor landscapes, Megan paused, captivated by one particular piece. It depicted a serene forest bathed in golden sunlight. "This is beautiful," she murmured, leaning closer to examine the details. Ryan smiled. "You have good taste." "That's one of my favorites, too." Encouraged by his compliment, Megan found herself relaxing. For the first time, she realized she wasn't just observing the art, she was enjoying it. And being there with Ryan made the experience even better. He seemed genuinely interested in her opinions, asking questions and sharing insights without making her feel judged out. As the evening wore on, Megan noticed something else. Ryan introduced her to several of his friends who were also attending the event. At first, she froze, unsure how to respond when someone asked about her job or hobbies. But Ryan always stepped in smoothly, filling in the gaps and steering the conversation back to topics she felt comfortable discussing. His support gave her confidence, helping her navigate social interactions she normally avoided. By the end of the night, Megan felt a sense of accomplishment. She hadn't panicked or run away. Instead, she had stayed, talked to new people, and even laughed at a few jokes. As they left the gallery, she turned to Ryan with a shy smile. "Thank you for bringing me here. I actually had fun." Ryan's face lit up. "I'm so glad." "You deserve to have fun, Megan. Don't forget that." Over the next few weeks, Ryan continued introducing Megan to new experiences. He took her to try exotic foods at tiny family-owned restaurants, where the owners greeted him like an old friend. They visited museums, parks, and even a local farmer's market on a crisp autumn morning. With each outing, Megan grew more comfortable stepping outside her usual routine. She discovered joys she never knew existed, the thrill of tasting unfamiliar flavors, the peace of strolling through quiet gardens, the wonder of learning about different cultures. But it wasn't just the activities that changed Megan. It was Ryan himself. He had a way of seeing the best in people, including her. Whenever she doubted herself, he reminded her of her strengths. When she worried about fitting in, he assured her that she belonged exactly as she was. Slowly, Megan began to see herself differently, not as someone defined by shyness or fear, but as someone capable of growth and happiness. One afternoon, while volunteering together at a community cleanup project, Megan found herself reflecting on how much Ryan had influenced her life. They were picking up trash along a riverbank, working side by side under the bright sun. Sweat dripped down her forehead, but she didn't mind. There was something satisfying about contributing to something bigger than herself. "You've done this before, haven't you?" Megan asked, watching Ryan expertly sort recyclables from garbage. "A few times," he admitted with a grin. "It feels good to give back, doesn't it?" "It does," Megan agreed. Then, after a pause, she added softly, "You know, I wouldn't have tried half these things without you. Thank you for pushing me to do more." Ryan stopped what he was doing and looked at her. "You're the one doing the hard work, Megan. All I'm doing is cheering you on. Honestly, I'm proud of you." His words caught her off guard, and for a moment, she didn't know how to respond. No one had ever told her they were proud of her, not like this. It made her chest tighten with emotion, but also fill with warmth. Later that evening, as they sat on a park bench overlooking the cleaned-up river, Ryan turned to Megan with a serious expression. "There's something I need to say," he began. "I care about you, Megan. A lot. More than just as a friend." Megan's breath hitched. She had suspected his feelings might be growing, but hearing him say it aloud made her heart race. I care about you too," she admitted quietly. But, Ryan prompted gently. "But I'm scared," Megan confessed. "You're so incredible, Ryan. You've accomplished so much, and you're surrounded by amazing people. I don't want to hold you back or disappoint you." Ryan shook his head firmly. "You could never disappoint me, Megan, and you're not holding me back. You're inspiring me. You remind me of what truly matters: kindness, authenticity, and finding joy in the little things. Those qualities are rare, and they're what make you special." Tears welled up in Megan's eyes. She wanted to believe him, but years of self-doubt weren't easy to shake. "I need time to think," she whispered. "About us, about everything." Ryan nodded, his expression softening. "Take all the time you need. I'll be here whenever you're ready." For the rest of the week, Megan wrestled with her emotions. She replayed Ryan's words in her mind, trying to reconcile her fears with the truth he was offering. Could she really trust that someone like him could value someone like her? Was it possible to build a future together despite their differences? On Saturday morning, Megan decided to visit Lavra, hoping her friend's perspective might help clear her thoughts. Over coffee, she poured out her heart, explaining her doubts and insecurities. Lavra listened patiently, then offered a gentle reminder. Love isn't about being perfect or matching someone else's standards, she said. It's about accepting each other for who you are. If Ryan sees something in you that makes him happy, maybe it's time to let yourself believe it. Megan mulled over Laura's advice for hours. Finally, as the sun set that evening, she came to a decision. She picked up her phone and typed a message to Ryan. "Can we meet tomorrow? I'd like to talk." Ryan's reply came quickly. "Of course. Anytime, anywhere." The next day, Megan met Ryan at a quiet park near the river. The air was cool, carrying the scent of freshly cut grass. She took a deep breath, gathering her courage before speaking. "I've thought a lot about what you said," she began, "and I want to give us a chance to see where this goes. But only if we move forward as equals. I don't want to feel like I'm less than you because of, well, everything." Ryan smiled, relief washing over his face. "That's all I've ever wanted, Megan, to be with you as partners, equals." With those words, Megan felt a weight lift from her shoulders. For the first time, she allowed herself to imagine a future where she wasn't hiding in the shadows, but standing beside someone who truly saw her light. Megan and Ryan's decision to move forward as a couple brought both excitement and challenges. For Megan, the idea of being in a relationship with someone like Ryan still felt surreal. She couldn't shake the fear that she wasn't enough. For his world, enough for his ambitions, enough for the kind of life he led. Yet every time she doubted herself, Ryan was there to remind her of her worth. He didn't just tell her. He showed her in small, meaningful ways. One Saturday morning, Ryan surprised Megan with an invitation to join him on one of his weekend hikes. "It's nothing too strenuous," he assured her. "Just a short trail with a great view at the end. I think you'll like it." Megan hesitated. Hiking wasn't something she had ever considered doing before. The thought of climbing steep paths or dealing with bugs made her uneasy. But Ryan's enthusiasm was infectious, and she found herself agreeing. "Okay," she said cautiously. "But if I fall behind, don't laugh at me." Ryan chuckled. "No laughing, promise. We'll take it slow." The hike turned out to be more enjoyable than Megan expected. Ryan carried a small backpack filled with snacks and water, stopping frequently to let her catch her breath. Along the way, he pointed out interesting plants and birds, sharing facts about them in a way that made nature seem fascinating rather than intimidating. When they finally reached the summit, Megan gasped at the breathtaking view sprawling. Valley bathed in golden sunlight, dotted with trees and winding rivers. "It's beautiful," she whispered, feeling a sense of peace she hadn't experienced in years. Ryan stood beside her, smiling. "I'm glad you like it. Sometimes all we need is a little change of scenery to remind us how big the world is and how much of it we can explore together." Megan glanced at him, her heart swelling with gratitude. Moments like these made her realize why Ryan had become such an important part of her life. He didn't push her into anything. Instead, he gently encouraged her to step outside her comfort zone, showing her that growth didn't have to mean pain. It could also mean joy. As their relationship deepened, Megan began opening up more about her dreams and aspirations. One evening, while sitting on Ryan's couch after dinner, she mentioned something she had always wanted to do, but never dared pursue: write a novel. "It sounds silly, I know," she admitted shyly, "but I've always loved storytelling. I don't think I'm good enough." Ryan leaned forward, his expression serious. "Why do you say that? Have you tried writing before?" "A little," Megan replied, "but I always get stuck halfway through. I guess I'm scared no one will care about what I have to say." "That's not true," Ryan said firmly. "If your stories come from the heart, people will connect with them. You should keep trying, Megan. Don't let fear stop you from chasing something you love." His words lingered in her mind long after their conversation ended. Over the next few weeks, Megan started working on her novel during quiet evenings at home. At first, it was difficult. She second, guessed every sentence, and erased entire paragraphs. But slowly she found her rhythm. Writing became a form of self-expression, a way to process her thoughts and emotions. And whenever she felt discouraged, Ryan was there to cheer her on, asking about her progress and offering encouragement. Despite the positives, Megan still struggled with moments of doubt. There were times when she questioned whether she truly belonged in Ryan's world. He traveled often for work, attending conferences and meetings in cities across the country. Each trip left her feeling insecure, wondering if he would meet someone smarter, more confident, or better suited to his lifestyle. These fears weren't based on anything Ryan said or did. He remained as devoted and attentive as ever, but they stemmed from her own insecurities. One night, after Ryan returned from a business trip, Megan decided to confront her feelings. They were lying in bed, the room dimly lit by the glow of a bedside lamp. Megan turned to face him, her voice trembling slightly. "Do you ever feel like we're too different?" Ryan looked at her, his brow furrowing in concern. "What makes you say that?" "I don't know," Megan admitted. "You're so accomplished, and you know so many amazing people. Sometimes I wonder if I'm holding you back, or if I'll ever measure up to the kind of person you deserve." Ryan sighed softly, reaching out to take her hand. "Megan, listen to me. You're exactly the person I want in my life. Your kindness, your creativity, your quiet strength, they're qualities I admire deeply. Yes, we come from different backgrounds, but that doesn't matter. What matters is how we treat each other, how we support each other. You make me better, Megan. Don't ever forget that." Tears welled up in Megan's eyes, but this time they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of relief, of finally beginning to believe in herself and in them. Ryan pulled her close, holding her until the tension melted away. In addition to navigating their personal challenges, Megan and Ryan also faced external pressures. Some of Ryan's friends and colleagues raised eyebrows when they learned about his relationship with Megan. Few even hinted that he might be slumming it, dating someone who didn't share his level of success or ambition. Ryan brushed off their comments, refusing to let anyone undermine what he had with Megan. But the whispers still reached her ears, fueling her insecurities. One afternoon, while grabbing coffee with Laura, Megan confided in her friend about the June criticism she'd heard. "It's like people think I'm not good enough for him," she said bitterly. "And maybe they're right." Laura frowned. "That's their problem, not yours. Who cares what those people think? All that matters is how Ryan feels about you and how you feel about him." "I know," Megan murmured, "but it's hard not to let it affect me." Later that week, Ryan invited Megan to attend a charity gala hosted by Innovatech. It was a formal event, attended by some of the most influential figures in the tech industry. Megan immediately felt out of place among the polished suits and designer dresses, clutching her glass of sparkling water as she tried to blend into the background. To her surprise, Ryan stayed by her side throughout the evening, introducing her to his colleagues and praising her contributions to conversations. When one of his business partners made a snide remark about Megan's job at the retail store, Ryan didn't hesitate to defend her. "Megan's intelligence and creativity inspire me every day," he said firmly. "Success isn't measured by titles or paychecks. It's measured by character. And Megan has more character than anyone I know." The comment silenced the critic, leaving Megan stunned. She had never seen Ryan so protective, so fiercely proud of her. That night, as they drove home, she reached over to squeeze his hand. "Thank you for standing up for me tonight. It meant a lot," Ryan smiled. "You never have to thank me for that. You're worth defending, Megan." Over time, Megan began to internalize Ryan's belief in her. She realized that while their worlds were different, Their connection was real and strong enough to bridge any gaps. She started applying for jobs that aligned with her passion for creative writing, eventually landing a position at a marketing agency where she could use her skills to craft compelling content. Ryan celebrated her achievement as if it were his own, reminding her that she had earned every bit of her success. Their bond continued to grow, built on mutual respect, trust, and a shared vision for the future. Megan no longer saw herself as someone defined by shyness or fear. Instead, she embraced her unique qualities, knowing that Ryan loved her for exactly who she was. And Ryan, for his part, cherished the way Megan grounded him, reminding him of what truly mattered in life. Together, they proved that love wasn't about perfection or matching backgrounds. It was about finding someone who saw your potential and helped you shine. As they stood side by side, facing whatever challenges lay ahead, Megan and Ryan knew they were ready to build a future filled with promise, laughter, and endless possibilities. Months passed, and Megan's life transformed in ways she never imagined. She had started her new job at the marketing agency, where her creativity and writing skills quickly earned her praise from her colleagues. Each day brought new challenges, but also new opportunities to grow. For the first time, Megan felt like she was contributing something meaningful, not just to her team, but to herself. She no longer saw her shyness as a weakness. Instead, it became a reminder of how far she had come. Ryan remained a constant source of support, cheering her on every step of the way. He celebrated her successes, helped her navigate setbacks, and encouraged her to keep pushing forward. Their relationship continued to deepen, built on a foundation of trust and mutual respect. Megan found herself opening up more, sharing pieces of her past that she had kept hidden for years. Ryan listened without judgment, offering comfort and understanding whenever she needed it. One evening, after a long day at work, Megan returned home to find a package waiting for her on the kitchen counter. Curious, she opened it to discover a beautifully bound journal with a handwritten note tucked inside. The note was from Ryan. For all the stories you have yet to tell, and the ones only you can write. Tears filled Megan's eyes as she held the journal in her hands. It wasn't just a gift. It was a symbol of everything Ryan believed about her. He saw her potential, even when she struggled to see it herself. That night, she sat at her desk and began writing not just fragments of ideas, but entire chapters. Words flowed effortlessly, as if they had been waiting patiently for her to let them out. For hours, she poured her heart into the pages, losing track of time. The next morning, Megan showed Ryan what she had written. His eyes widened as he read through the first few pages, his expression filled with awe. "This is incredible," he said softly. "You're incredible." Megan blushed, feeling a mix of pride and vulnerability. "I couldn't have done it without you," she admitted. "You've always believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself." "That's because you deserve to be believed in," Ryan replied, "and I can't wait to read more." As weeks turned into months, Megan's confidence grew. She submitted excerpts of her novel to literary magazines, and to her amazement, several were accepted for publication. Each acceptance letter felt like validation, not just of her talent, but of the journey she had taken to get there. Ryan framed the first published piece and hung it on the wall of their apartment, calling it a masterpiece. Their relationship evolved naturally, blending seamlessly into their daily lives. They supported each other's passions, celebrated each other's victories, and leaned on each other during tough times. Ryan introduced Megan to his world of technology and innovation, explaining complex concepts in ways she could understand. In return, Megan shared her love of storytelling, reading drafts of her work aloud and watching Ryan's face light up with excitement. One weekend, Ryan surprised Megan with tickets to a travel expo. "We've talked about your dream of visiting Europe," he explained. Let's start planning." Megan's heart raced with anticipation. Traveling abroad had always seemed impossible, a distant fantasy reserved for people who weren't afraid to leave their comfort zones. But with Ryan by her side, the idea felt less daunting and more achievable. Together, they explored booths showcasing destinations across Europe, collecting brochures and jotting down notes. By the end of the day, they had sketched out an itinerary. That included Paris, Florence, and Barcelona. "Are you sure about this?" Megan asked nervously as they left the expo. "It's going to be expensive and complicated." "We'll figure it out," Ryan assured her. "Besides, sometimes the best experiences are the ones that challenge us." True to his word, Ryan helped Megan prepare for the trip. He taught her basic phrases in French and Italian, researched affordable accommodations, and created a detailed packing list. As the departure date approached, Megan's anxiety gave way to excitement. She realized that stepping outside her comfort zone wasn't just about facing fears, it was about embracing possibilities. When they finally boarded the plane to Paris, Megan felt a mix of nerves and exhilaration. The city was everything she had dreamed of. Cobblestone streets lined with charming cafes, iconic landmarks bathed in golden light, and locals chatting animatedly in melodic French. Ryan guided her through museums and gardens, snapping photos, and encouraging her to soak in every moment. On their last night in Paris, they climbed to the top of Montmartre, overlooking the glittering city below. Megan wrapped her arms around herself, shivering slightly in the cool evening air. Ryan noticed and draped his jacket over her shoulders, pulling her close. "This is amazing," Megan whispered, gazing at the view. "I never thought I'd be here doing this with someone like you." "Someone like me?" Ryan teased gently. "You know what I mean," Megan replied, smiling. "You've changed my life, Ryan. You've shown me that I'm capable of so much more than I ever thought possible." Ryan kissed the top of her head, his voice soft but sincere. "You did all the hard work, Megan. I just helped you see what was already there." Their trip to Europe marked a turning point in Megan's life. When they returned home, she approached her goals with renewed determination. She finished her novel, submitting it to publishers with Ryan's unwavering encouragement. Though rejections came, she refused to give up, knowing that persistence was key. Eventually, a small publishing house offered her a contract, and Megan cried tears of joy as she signed the agreement. Through it all, Ryan remained by her side, celebrating her achievements and reminding her of her strength. Their relationship became a partnership in every sense of the word. They faced challenges together, pursued dreams together, and built a future rooted in love and mutual respect. One crisp autumn evening, Ryan took Megan to the park where they had first confessed their feelings for each other. The leaves crunched underfoot as they walked along the familiar path, hand in hand. When they reached the bench overlooking the river, Ryan stopped and turned to face her. "I have something I want to ask you," he said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. Megan's heart skipped a beat. "What is it?" Ryan knelt down, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. Inside was a simple yet elegant ring, its diamond catching the fading sunlight. "Megan Carter, you've changed my life in ways I never thought possible. You've shown me what it means to truly love and be loved. Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down Megan's face as she stared at him, overwhelmed by the depth of his sincerity. For a moment, she couldn't speak, her emotions too raw to put into words. Finally, she nodded, her voice trembling. Yes, I will." Ryan slid the ring onto her finger, standing up to pull her into a tight embrace. They stood there for a long time, holding each other as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the sky in hues of orange and pink dot in the months that followed. Megan and Ryan planned their wedding together, blending their personalities and preferences into a celebration that reflected who they were as individuals and as a couple. Friends and family gathered to witness their vows, marveling at how two seemingly different people had found such perfect harmony. As Megan walked down the aisle toward Ryan, she felt a profound sense of gratitude. She wasn't the same shy, uncertain woman who had once hesitated to step outside her comfort zone. She was stronger, braver, and more confident, thanks in large part to the man waiting for her at the altar. When the ceremony ended, Megan and Ryan danced under twinkling lights, surrounded by laughter and love. They knew their journey wouldn't always be easy, but they also knew they could face anything as long as they faced it together. In the end, Megan realized that love wasn't about finding someone who completed you. It was about finding someone who inspired you to become the best version of yourself. And Ryan had done exactly that. Together, they proved that no matter where you start or how different your paths may seem, true connection has the power to transform lives and create a future brighter than either of you could have imagined alone.